spend time and discuss people with all these baggages and backgrounds coming together to work with us. Will you prefer this? Or if you have your way, all the people must be Nigerians from the same Igbo land or Yoruba land, or from Freetown, they all speak your language. It's very easy when you want to organize dinner because you can all go to a convenient place. You all, when one is singing, you even enjoy it because you understand, you appreciate the song. When they greet you, how you are used to it from home, from childhood. That is what we prefer. But the argument is simple. There is several benefits when we have multiculturalism. That is, when you have a team in an organization coming from all sorts of backgrounds. And that's what we are going to look at. So many important things. So as we defined it in our previous discussion, we're talking about a situation where different cultures and ethnicities exist in one organization. And then we see that there is diversity. And when the blend is very fair, balanced, we see that there is multiculturalism. In some organizations, maybe for policy, for pleasing people, they can bring people from different cultures. But you realize that people from a particular culture, they play a particular menial role. For instance, they are the security people and the cleaners, all of them. And then at the top, the core management, the decision makers come from a particular culture. And then they see that we have balance. No, that is not balance. That is not diversity. We're talking about where, if it's at the management level decision making, we have people from different backgrounds. And there are so many benefits and there are so many arguments in support of that. Of course, there are also arguments against that. And so where you have people that, for instance, if you have a people that all of them are about the same age, oh, all of us are between 25 and 30. No, there is no diversity. They will all think the same way, and you later on understand the benefit that if you put people who think alike, you are not able to innovate because they will all come out with the same solution. Yes, but if you have people who don't understand themselves, it takes time for them to reach consensus. But when they come out with consensus, it addresses every single culture's concern. And that is very powerful. And so we need race. It's important. Gender is a major problem in our part of the world, in Africa and West Africa in particular. Gender. And so you see that even all of you, those of you on this program who are fortunate to be on this, there has been effort, conscious effort by the leadership of this movement, this organization, to include more females. Otherwise, if it is left open, you see what will happen. And so if you don't have a fairly balanced ladies and gentlemen together, we cannot talk about diversity. There are several other dimensions. Nationality. I know some of you have been outside to study, or at least you look at the adverts, you go to the websites of some of the famous organizations and then the popular organizations, including the universities, institutions. You realize that one of the key elements in their adverts is multiculturalism. And they say we have students from 20 countries. And even in my university, whenever there is congregation, graduation, we demonstrate that it is a multinational university by hosting the flags of all the students. Sometimes we have students coming from 17 countries, 15 countries, and we clap to that. Sometimes we stand and clap. Why? Because it has some benefits. We will talk about that. So everyone is trying to do this. Why? We talk about that. And it is important for us to understand that we need to embrace diversity. Why? Because it's increasing. In fact, some years back, people conducted research and they were saying with globalization and the internationalization, the whole world, we all say it is becoming a very small village, and that there will be convergence at a point. People will drop certain values and then we share. But research by House and the others have established that the value differences between nations and communities within these nations several centuries ago still persist. And in fact, it's even getting worse. And several of us, we read or we hear about the fact that there are ethnic groups that used to be very small, unheard of. Now they're coming out to claim recognition. Sometimes they say, we want our own district, we want our own region, we want to secede to become a whole country. And so this is something that has come to be with us, and we cannot but also live with it. So diversity in organization, especially most of us as young leaders, we don't have control over who we lead. They are there and you are appointed as a leader. What are you going to do? It's very important. You say you are comfortable working with Nigerians. The Chinese are all over the world. You can't, because sometimes the very support, the funding that you are receiving, the condition is that you have to include people from here and here. So it's not an option. But let's not see it also as an imposition. It is the reality of the day. They have so many things and so many benefits. For instance, you look at the figures here, they are percentages, responses from a study on the benefits of having diverse workforce. And these are the benefits. These are the factors that were mostly mentioned. From the one that even a third is not a very small ranking, and the third believes in multiculturalism or diverse workforce. For what reason? Because diversity management is mostly about avoiding discrimination, maintaining compliance with legal requirements. It's very easy to enforce compliance if the people, you don't know anyone. In ethics, we say that you wear the veil of ignorance. You close your eyes because it is not about your culture, it's not about your church people, it's not about that. And then we have the fact that people believe that senior leadership recognizes the value of a diverse workforce. And so it is part of their culture. They do everything to make sure it becomes organizational culture. Those who own, those who decide. And because of that, diversity is cherished. So, and then we have the diversity being important because a business model that fully integrates diversity can enable sustained growth. I always say that if you have people from different backgrounds, one of the things that you are likely to achieve is that if there is a problem with a particular group and they should leave, the others are there. But if all of them are from the same background, and there is a problem, what do? You lose everything. You have to start afresh. And so therefore, it is very important. Diverse team can produce better, more creative ideas because of synergy among contrasting approaches. And so if you want to design, for instance, a harmattan or winter cloth, or a cloth for a particular season, and you bring people who live along the coast alone, what are you going to get? You get something that you can only use when you are on the coast, because that is the only one they know. But if you bring people from the Sahara, along the coast, in the forest areas, and then when the one from the Sahara area comes, the person will insist that we design it to suit that area. The coastal person and the one from the hinterland, the savannah, will also do the same. And at the end of the day, you are going to have a blend. And so we say that diversity generates innovation, creativity, entrepreneurship, because disagreement always, if it's properly handled, bring about creative ideas. So no one wants to give in. So what do? We need to establish equilibrium. We need a balance. And that is always unique. Then you go one side and you may end up losing everything. Competitive advantage in labor markets. If people are offered opportunities and they see clearly that where I'm going, it is people from only one background, only one race. If they have other options, they will think twice. Diversity is very, very important, simply because people are comfortable when they see that the people they are going to join come from all backgrounds. At least they are comfortable because they know no particular background dominates and that they will not be discriminated against. And so that perception gives organizations competitive advantage in recruitment. Again, it is very important, and in fact, that attracted about 82% that if we are able to manage diversity at the workplace, the organization is likely to attract all kinds of talent. All kinds of talent, because you don't restrict it to a particular culture, but you open up. You don't care so much about whether the person is a Muslim or a Christian or whether the person is from this part or that part. What you're looking for is the talent. So with this orientation, you have a pool to always get your talent from. And then the most significant, according to the study, of all the 7 benefits as ranked by the respondents, is the fact that a diverse workforce improves our ability to engage diverse clients, which is very critical. The person is coming, is a Muslim, you're a Christian, you have no experience with how to interact with a Muslim. How are you going to handle this person? Are you now going to learn how to relate to win the person? And influencing others, it takes seconds for people to form opinion when they meet you for the first time. If you have someone who understands the culture already, you have an added advantage. And so therefore, diversity gives us the opportunity to be able to deal with all kinds of cultures. That is why the missions, when you go to the diplomatic missions, it doesn't matter the language you speak. They are able to meet you because when they're recruiting, they take into consideration these factors. And all of us, we are aiming, even if we are not international already, and we are national, we need to take into consideration that to make an impact, we are not going to discriminate in those that we are going to serve. But if you are going to serve all of us, don't you think it would be a very good idea to have people coming from the backgrounds of the people you are going to serve? And that improves our ability to engage a diverse client base and succeed in a wider number of markets. And so you can enter any market, you don't need an interpreter. You don't need to spend months to learn and understand their culture. All you need to do is to enhance the person. Even you can let such a person lead a team of people who don't understand that culture. And so these are some of the benefits. There are so many benefits that, in fact, one other benefit that you may consider is the image. When an organization is perceived as, people become so comfortable that, hey, this group belongs to all of us. And so the ranking alone that society assigns is also one of the indicators of effective leadership. If you are not even doing well and society says you are doing well, that in itself is a very important achievement. And so diversity is very useful, it is very important, and we need to try and achieve it. However, it is important to understand that there are obstacles. How long are you going to wait? Cost-wise, money, productivity, resources, until these people from various backgrounds become used to each other. Now they understand themselves, they can work together. That is the only way you can achieve productivity. It takes time. And throughout this period, you'll be paying salaries, and productivity will be low because even language to communicate becomes a problem. And so it's very important. We need to have diversity, but these people coming, they have their values. They don't want to drop it. No, they don't. They must. You're saying they should work in teams. You know, some religions, females are not required to interact and team up with males. That is the cultural value the person is bringing. So what will you do? Will you tell her that, oh, when you come here, forget about it? Yes, you tell them. But unconsciously, even if they are there, they might not be able to be active and participate. So cultural values affect the practices of organizations. It's very important. And so we need to understand that there are also other aspects that we need to address. As I mentioned, cost is very important. Who must follow who? I am the boss, the leader. I started it, so I have training, I have this. I'm supposed to guide the organization. That is the role of a leader, to a preferred destination. You have come, you are the subordinates, you are supposed to be team members to help me, to all of us work together for us to go to a particular destination. I have a value system that you don't share in. It's different, and you also have a value system. How do we move together? According to your value system, you must go left. Mine says you must go right. What it means is that one must be able to understand the other. This training, this information, this knowledge that we are sharing, it is you and I who are sharing. The subordinates are not here. And so therefore, as leaders, we are required, if we want to achieve whatever we want to achieve, we must be the follower of our subordinates. We are not saying that we should follow them to experience the negative consequences of certain cultural values. No. What we mean is that we need to accept them, we need to understand them, we need to appreciate them, we need to accept that they have reasons for doing whatever they do. In so doing, they will have confidence and they will trust us. It is only when this trust is established that we can influence them. And so a leader must be a follower of his or her subordinates, because you can't say that I am this type, I prefer to be transformational. There's nothing like that. You come into that to discussing those things. Yes, in books you have transformational, you have democratic, you have transactional, you have the servant, you have the autocrats and the others. But the truth is that the culture always imposes the style that we need to achieve. There are situations, no matter what, if you want to use the servant, it won't work. And so you come there, but we need to understand that culture can never be ignored in choosing leadership styles and behavior. It is very critical that, yes, we discussed, I mentioned them, the why we need to have diversity, cultural diversity, the benefits, they are here. And so there are so many important things, but I want us to do an assignment ourselves. You answer them. If you are not able to answer these questions, you should forget it. We can never become effective leaders. What is your own cultural background? Who are you? Do you know? Sometimes we tend to assume that we know who we are. We don't know. You don't know. When you pass, when you meet people, do you know what they think about you? Or because they smile, or because whatever you say, they listen. No. We have a belief system. We have a value system. We are biased. We are ethnocentric. Do you know we are ethnocentric? What are the things that you can't stand? And so it is very important for us to know our own cultural background and answer these specific questions. One, even if you know, do you understand why you do certain things? You need to understand. What do people think about you? Not you as a person, your culture. What do people think about you? Do they think that from your part of the world, you are arrogant, or you are more likely to be dishonest, to bully, or you are very submissive and you are like this? You are very honest, you have integrity. Oh, people from here are like this. People from here are like that. You must, to succeed, you must know the perception about where you come from. Oh, when they come from the US after school, this is how they behave. You must answer this question. You need to be aware of others' perceptions, what people think about you. And I mentioned earlier on, we all have stereotypes, you all have biases. There are people you are not comfortable getting closer to. Do you know that? Let's reflect and be conscious of the fact that these things are real, so that whenever you are approaching them, you'll be guided against that bias. It will be there for a very long time. Some of them you can never throw them away. But when you are aware, then consciously you'll be guided in taking the situations. Another important thing that we need to understand to achieve cultural awareness is to accept the logic of other cultural frameworks. You don't say that, why is it that they spend 2 minutes in greeting? How many minutes do you expect them to spend? Do you know why they spend 2 minutes in greeting? Do you know why they have to do certain things? Do you know why they have to do that? No. Let's understand the logic. I'm not saying go to every subordinate and ask, why do you do this? No. To start with, even if you don't know, have it clearly in your mind that there must be a genuine reason why they're doing that. Even though I don't understand with time, I will understand. And once they have a reason, I have no basis to challenge them. So it is very important for us to understand that people have perceptions about us. We also have about them. What do you think? Each of the groups, when you see a Ghanaian, what comes to your mind? When you see this group, what comes to your mind? I remember very well in 2000 when I was in Sierra Leone. Those of you from Sierra Leone, I was part of the Commonwealth team that organized, together with the UN, that organized the election. When the Pakaba was around, that's how you used to call him. You know. And when I got there, I was in charge of the Northern Ghana, Makeni area, with a local reverend minister and our driver. When I got there, they introduced me to the opinion leaders and the rebels. As soon as they heard from Ghana, one rebel leader said, oh, then he'll be fair. That's all that the man said. Oh, Ghana, heard about Ghana democracy. The person will be fair. And that's what we are talking about. It shouldn't be always positive. Assuming if the orientation had been, oh, from that place then they will steal or they will cheat. Let's know what people think about us. It could be wrong, but it is here, and they will deal with you according to that. And so, if your subordinates believe that people from this place will always favor people from that place, you have a work to do. So you know how to relate to them. And that is the beginning of becoming aware of your culture. And so, but there are others who are completely ignorant, and I describe them as cultural ignorance people. And when they are like that, they don't know anything. They don't know. Sometimes it's the first time they are seeing the culture, and sometimes they react in such a way. Why do you do things like that? Why can't you do this? This, even a child can do this. And then that is the problem. Because the person doesn't appreciate, and when such a person is a leader, you can just imagine the harm that such a person can cause to the organization than doing good. And so when people know there are cultural differences and they try to understand and address, they meet them halfway, then we see that there is cultural awareness. And by so doing, you are less likely to breach some of the cultural norms. And one thing that you have to understand is that culture is one thing that people wouldn't mind resigning from jobs. If you touch people's culture, which includes religion, if you want to touch people's religion, I can assure you, the person will resign. Sometimes it's life and death. And so it's very important for us to be aware of this sensitive part of the people we are working with, so we don't joke with that sensitive part. And so cultural awareness takes place when people know there are cultural differences and are looking for them, and they are less likely to commit the problems, the blunders. And so we have a concept that we also call the cultural intelligence, and then we have cultural knowledge. When leaders go beyond understanding and appreciating, and this time they try to engage in it, they appreciate, they support people to be engaging in certain practices, then we say that there is cultural intelligence. And there are so many ways by which you can do this. I worked with a subordinate, an assistant who was a Muslim. If you ask her not to go to the mosque on Friday, she will stay in the office. But you are not being sensitive to her. So looking at the work I discussed with her, when there are things that we are doing and they are not time-bound, Malia, if they are not time-bound, don't come. When it is the festive period and fasting period, flexible schedule. Sometimes she needs a week, but the holiday, public holiday for them to celebrate their Muslim annual, is it Ramadan, or it's a day. And so you give her a week. And you know what I had in return? She walks to me and say, look, you know, we don't have Christmas. So around the Christmas, if you have anything that you want me to do, I can come to the office and do it. And I end up getting far more than what I gave to her. And she went about telling people that, oh, definitely one day she hopes I will become a Muslim because I respect Islam and I support. No, that is not it. It's a way of getting the best out of this young lady. So whenever I call her, whether late and it's not for her church or on health grounds, she will do everything to come and perform. It's very important. And that is what we are talking about. We need to have this cultural intelligence so that we don't only support what they do, but sometimes we even have to engage in them. Sometimes you have to eat, try it. Hey, today I'll eat this. Sometimes you try as if you want to speak the language. Sometimes when they sing it, you try to dance. And then unconsciously, they'll give you more than you need. And so it is very important for us to have the awareness. It's part of trying to manage our diversity. And there are so many ways by which we can manage our diversity, but one is what a summary, what we have here now is a summary of what we have all discussed. And I have something here that I think can help us to understand it properly. They are the same. And this is very important way of managing cultural diversity. There are two options. One leads to positive, and then the other is negative results. If you look at the approach, you have encounter with culture. You have the option of using the top approach or this approach or the bottom approach. With the bottom approach, I'd like to start with that. As soon as you see the culture, look at the way they do their things. Sometimes you don't tell anyone, but you get shocked. Because of that, these people, then there is fear, suspicion, and the prejudice follows. That is the approach, one. And then once you have this approach, because of the cultural differences, you come to the red zone. The red zone, you can see 4 factors there. They are inevitable. No matter who you are, no matter the approach that you adopt, you encounter them. For the first time, you do things, frustration will set in. Sometimes very embarrassing. And sometimes you get confused. Because that is the first time what you know, what you believe in, what you have worked with, and you have succeeded in is coming into contact. There is a clash with something that you are seeing for the first time. So there will be tension. And that is, so if you use the approach one, because you fear them, you can't trust them, so you suspect that there could be something bad, and that leads to the formation of prejudice. And the inevitable will definitely arise. And then the approach two, which is the top one, As soon as you encounter, then because of the cultural intelligence, you tell yourself that, this is strange, but I think I will understand. You open up. So when they are doing it, what happens? You accept it. That is okay. I don't understand. I won't do. Sometimes you say, I won't do. But I don't see anything wrong. There are some leaders who put impediments on the way of people to exercise their culture. If they know that it's 4 o'clock, they will give you assignment when it's 5 minutes to 4. And so, but here you accept it and you trust that there is logic in it, there is sense in it, even though you don't understand. But one thing that we need to understand is whether you adopt approach A or approach B, the inevitable, there will still be tension. You open up, it doesn't matter. Frustration will come, embarrassment will come, and confusion sometimes will emerge. I remember very well when I had a terrible experience I can share with you. I was in Norway, in the Scandinavia. I was there for about 7 years. And then after a couple of years, I started working with this lady. And this lady, Toron, was very nice to me. We were working together. And one day we went to the office, the work, and then we entered the premises. Over there, there are alarms. You have to set it, and then you enter. When you enter, you lock it. The door was such that when you are inside and you lock it, you can't open from outside. And so she had to go and pick something and come back. It was in the winter. And so we were trying to find a way by which she wouldn't have to stay out for that long. And she had very little time, money on her phone. And so we were trying to find out. And she asked me to be closer, to come every 5 minutes closer to the door to see, And the door is translucent, so she can see when she's outside. And I was trying to tell her that I'll dial her number as if I'm calling her. Yes, that description. Back home in Ghana, we call it flash me. And then so I told her that whenever I hear a car engine sound, I'll try, and when I flash you, you flash me back. That was it. Once I told her this lady got upset. And she had to even leave the place and left me alone. I didn't know what was happening. I came back and I approached her, and she doesn't accept any explanation. So I decided to talk to my boss. And over there was no boss, but he was called a team leader, Mike. And he was a British. So I sat down with him and I said, if you apologize to her for me because I did something, I don't know what I said, what I did. Then to cut it short, this man asked her, and the man said, what? In fact, she didn't repeat what I said, the flash. She just told the man that I asked her to strip naked for me to see her nakedness. And I said, so that was why. I said, what? But Mike, no, that's it. So Mike called me and asked, what exactly did Thomas say? And Thomas said, flash. And in their culture, to flash simply means, let me see it. And so, because of this, and the two of us alone were there in that big hall. And so to her, that was it. And so she didn't want to have anything to do with me until I explained, and then she understood and accepted it. Even it still took a very long time. And since then, I learned not to say flash, but to say, give me a missed call. And so now that is it. That is the embarrassment. That is the kind of frustration and then the tension that an encounter with a culture could bring. And when you are here, the inevitable, what you do is what tells the difference between effective leader and ineffective leader, or cultural intelligence and cultural ignorance. How do you respond? The fear, suspicious, prejudiced person, after encountering the frustration and then the tension and embarrassment, confusion, immediately will start criticizing everything, they will use their background to criticize. And some of us in our workplaces, we do it. Don't you do it? You say, oh, at my former workplace, my former boss used to do this. Oh, in my country, we do this. Oh, those of us from this part of the world, we do this. No, that is wrong. You use that as a basis to rationalize. Please, you don't have to, no, I was born like that. Me, I can't sit down, I can't negotiate. I don't see, because how my father brought us up, I can't see myself sit down and eat with my support. No, that is wrong. Because of this, you achieve a certain result. And eventually, suspicious simply means you withdraw. You don't have anything to do with them. At the end of the day, there will be alienation, isolation, hostility, rejection. You feel. And the fear, it will be, it will feed into the process, and then the cycle will begin again. But if you adapt the open, the acceptance, and the trust, even though all these things will happen, but you ask, as I did, you ask a question, please. You listen to them, you don't understand. You observe them, and gradually you try to participate, gradually. And the results, there will be trust, rapport will be very easy, friendship will be there. You accept them, they will accept you, there will be understanding, and you are able to identify with them. If you have the top 6 things, attributes, you definitely succeed working with people. But if you happen to have any or all the 6 below, God be with you. And so it is very important for us to understand as we approach the end of this topic, to sum up on our discussion about culture and how culture can affect our ability to lead, our ability to guide people to achieve our objective. It's very important. I did some work. And I tried to use it to help us to understand that we have a cultural challenge. A cultural challenge. The work was based on Hofstede's book, which I will share a part with you for you to read. What we have in our part of the world, that is West Africa and Africa, is what I'm going to spend the next 2-3 minutes to talk about. And what, as young leaders, the cultural traits that we are acquiring now. So traditionally, our societies, our villages, our communities have certain cultures that we are part. But because of the training and the encounter, the experiences like what we're having today, interaction, the schools we attend, the churches, because of that, we now aspire. We're trying to follow, we prefer certain cultural practices. We practice some and we learn. We're trying to learn others. And what we prefer, in most cases, and what society has and they practice, tend to conflict. And as a leader, we are going to lead the society. And that is what I call the leadership cultural challenge. And so you can see I've put there common cultural orientation in West Africa. For instance, society, the society that we live in has the cultural orientation of hierarchical arrangements. In everything we do, the elderly, society is arranged hierarchically. And for us as young leaders going through this training, the study I did, in fact, I used another Yali trainees, those who met in person, not the electronic, not the online one. We had a training of 105 young leaders, and I tried to find out whether they agree with what society does in terms of the hierarchical arrangement. All of them said no, they prefer, in their leadership styles, they prefer the teamwork, the flat style. And when you have that, and society prefers hierarchical, what it means is that society traditionally governs using autocratic means. That is it. Society prefers using, and so if you want to go with society, no matter what, you don't have an option. You will definitely see autocratic elements in your leadership style. But if you don't want to, it means you always be in conflict. Because you sit down and say, come up and let's talk. Then your employees will not tell you anything, but they will signal to you that back home, it is wrong for you to share ideas with the elderly. And so therefore, most of them, if you ask them to contribute, they will always say, boss, if you have said it, it's okay. Oh, one boss has said, one boss has said. And that is a challenge. How do we break this? The second one is to look at, in society, are we goal-oriented or relationship-oriented? And the answer I found was simple. Society is relationship-oriented. We want to maintain our relationship, the extended family system, the bond, we want to. The religious member system, we want to. We don't want to destroy that relationship. So at the workplace, we prefer this. And then the young leaders that are studied also confirm that they also prefer relationship. Of course, they want to achieve goals, but they want to maintain the relationship. But the conclusion is that once you prefer relationship, the two are mutually exclusive. You cannot maintain relationship and achieve performance. It's not possible. Because there will be situations where someone deserves to be sacked, fired. But because of the social relationship, you have to let the person stay on. There will be situations whereby someone must be reported because the person has engaged in something bad. Because you want to keep the relationship, the person will stay on. And so the conclusion is that if we are not careful as young leaders in trying to maintain social relationship, you end up sacrificing the organizational goal so that people will like us, and that is our culture. How do we break this? How do we? They will call you by names. The whole village, you alone, when you come, you don't greet people. You alone, you do this. How do you ensure that our leadership potentials help us to achieve productivity? And then the final one is appearance versus objectivity. When we assign status, on what basis do we respect people? Is it the substance of who they are or how they appear? That is it. I found out that most, in all our cultures, we rely on appearance. So for instance, when people attend a function and the ushers unconsciously who usher them into where they should sit, the car you park, in most cases, defines where they will send you to go and sit. Why is it that in our offices, official, across the continent, you go there and at the entrance, there is a clear notice that taxis are not allowed in, but all other cars are allowed. And so what it means is that those who are not able to own the car are not as respected as those who drive car. In fact, all of you here, I'm sure unconsciously, if I should dress in suit and approach you compared to as I'm dressed in within, which I love to wear every day, sometimes unconsciously people say, hey, today you look. So the appearance is what is used most of the time. And that is why it's very difficult for us to use to achieve performance. Elsewhere, they don't care who you are. At the interview, it is your ability to perform. You can wear dreadlock, you're a guy, you get a job. In whose country? Sierra Leone, Nigeria, La Côte d'Ivoire, Togo, Liberia, or Ghana? If I should wear dreadlock and wear my jeans and t-shirt to attend an interview, will I be offered a job? It's out. But sometimes watch some of the international TV stations. T-shirt, and the person is casting news. Oh, yes. And so, but what they look for, what others look for, is the objectivity, the substance of it, and not appearance. We look at, that is why it's so easy for people to defraud people in our part of the world. Why? Because they appear in suit, they park their car, they speak English, they show some money, and then, you are convinced that the person will come and deliver. No. But it's a cultural practice. It is, and we call it materialism. That is why it is very easy for us to, and our students to cheat in examination. Because we are so materialistic. That is why in our part of the world, people can commit suicide for failing examination. The other time, yes, a friend sent me a mail to ask me why, what is wrong with us. that someone, senior high school, who wanted to go to the medical school, wrote the exam and had 5 A's. And then instead of getting, you need 6 A's to get automatic admission, had 5 A's. And the other one, I think, had a B or C, and the boy committed suicide. Elsewhere, when this happens, it's a minor incident. Oh, do they care? And so what? Another year will come. That's why they are able to spend 10 years doing PhD and other programs. And so once society relies on appearance, we respect people, we assign status based on what they own, what they wear, the car they drive, and the ability to demonstrate material things. Because of that, judgment is mostly based on material things. And that affects performance. Because the person appears nice, interview, eloquent, and that, sit down, it's time for you to think. And the person can't think. What do you do? And so that is a very important. And so these, I think, are challenges. How do we break this? The people you are going to lead, in fact, if you don't dress well, they won't even respect you. Meanwhile, you may have all the ideas. And so how do you break this? So that we will look at objectivity, we will look at the substance, we will look at performance, rather than appearance. And the last time I was telling friends that there are some of the leaders in some of these so-called developed countries that if you bring them to a part of the world, they will never win election. Not even to go to the legislature. They won't. For someone who has a problem with the one eye, that may be described as no. To win election, become head of state, in my country, your height determines. You can say, yes, you are not too tall, so we won't vote for you. You are not handsome. You are old. You are young. No one thinks about your ability and your capability to do it. And I'm sure we are all brothers and sisters, so you also would do the same. Not too long ago, it happened in Nigeria. It was a very strong message by the then party in power that the current president was too old and that couldn't rule. What has age got to do with ideas? And now we are seeing signs of some of the good things that the man is doing. And so as we round up, it is important for us to understand that you may have all the resources, you may have been taken through all the training programs, not until we understand that you are different from your deputy, and your boss is different from you, and your colleagues are all different because of their culture, because of how they were raised. We can never be effective as leaders. And so we can only be effective only when we realize that people are different and we try to understand them. It is also about accepting that people have different ways of doing things. Taylorism is no more. I hope you all remember Taylor, who propounded the scientific management theory. And the core principle was that in everything in this world, there is only one best way of doing it. And so therefore, until you find the best way, you can't. No, life is not like that. Leadership is not like that. Let's try and understand that we cannot get there alone. That's why we are leaders. Otherwise, we will do it single-handedly. We need people to help us. We can't force them. The only way is to understand them and help them to understand us so that they will be willing to go with us until we achieve the collective good. Accepting diversity is key to building effective leadership capacities and leading more effectively. And so these are the things that we all need. And I think, even though it is not exhaustive, I think we have done a lot to help us to appreciate that culture is, to me, even more important than resources, the material resources in achieving our targets. And within the last hour, we've been able to look at what the culture is. And as I said, there are so many issues, controversies about defining it, but we managed to find a definition to guide our discussion. And then we looked at the other concepts, and the most dangerous of all are the stereotypes and the prejudice. And in organizations, we need to manage all this so that we achieve our overall objective. I want us to go back. Just finish my part. You also have to do something at least to demonstrate that we understand, we appreciate, and we'll be able to work with it. And so your task is, with reference to leadership in any two African countries, and I think most of you will pick yours and another one, how will you describe the influence of culture on leadership in those two countries? So tell us how the background of your leader is influencing his style. And tell us another country in Africa is wide. You can get a lot of information online and how it is helping the person to lead. If it's negative, state it. If there are negatives and positives, state them. It's very important. And you can rely on this. There are a couple of them that I think, in fact, you can get House, part of it online, which is a 62 nation study, and House, Hofstadter also used, I think, 52 countries. So thank you.